Scoot Henderson, who is either going to be the number 2 pick or the number 3 pick. We both think that he probably should go number 2. A lot of people go, well, you need to draft for fit. I don't know how he fits with LaMelo. To me, he's just significantly higher than Brandon Miller in terms of grading them out as players, and there's a chance that he is a better player than LaMelo Ball. So, like, if you're not drafting him because LaMelo's there, I think they can work together, no problem. But if you're drafting him because of that, like, I think that's a huge mistake, and you're in a similar boat, I guess, with having him at number 2 still. The people are going to say, well, we don't want these 6'2" guards who can't really shoot, right? He can't shoot. He shot 28% or whatever it was in the G League. Through a lot of these games, like, he just didn't have that ability to shoot. And my counter was, LaMelo Ball shot 25% from 3 in the NBL, and now he's a really good 3-point shooter. Not saying they're the same player, but Scoot does have, I think, some ability to become a good 3-point shooter. The height and the shooting are going to be the 2 negative things that people say about Scoot. Tyler, how do you counter that?
I think he's, for me, the whole year he's been number 2 on my board. It's been Victor and Scoot 1-2. I've said, forever, I really believe whoever got the second pick on lottery night should have taken Scoot. I even said that with Detroit. I said, just take him and figure it out. I know it would be really a big headache, but you just have the potential to draft a franchise-altering point guard. And every year, everyone wants to say, you can find a 6'2" point guard. And I'm like, no, you can't find this one, because although he is 6'2", he is stocky. He's ripped. I think he's got a +6 or +7 wingspan.
Yeah, I think it's 7.
And with that athleticism, you don't see that a lot. He's going to draw plenty of Russell Westbrook comparisons. I think he's got a little Chris Paul in his game. He's very crafty in the mid-range. The 3-point shot isn't, I'm not too worried about it, because he's going to have 2 years of G League experience. He was playing last year as a 17-year-old. His 3-point percentage almost doubled this year. That's how, last year he was just trying to adjust to the 3-point shot, and he took strides this year. He was hovering above 30% for most of the year, and he is just so dynamic. The playmaking, the explosiveness, the shift of gears, the ability to read defense and play with angles. And I think he's got all the tools to be really, really special at the next level. And I know Charlotte's on at 2, and that's going to be a headache with Brandon Miller and Scoot for the next couple of weeks. We're all going to be debating it. But I think if you believe in the upside of Scoot Henderson, I don't think LaMelo Ball is stopping you from drafting a player of his talent. I think they could, work together. And if it doesn't work out, then you have another situation to evaluate down the road. But I wouldn't want to be the team that passes up on Scoot Henderson.
I 100% agree with you. I people go, well, you can't. I've seen some stupid takes already on Scoot. So, well, why would you want to bring in a 6'2" offensive black hole? Like, do you understand what the term black hole means? Like, I don't think you do. Right. For a start, like, that's not what he is. He's a good passer. He's a point guard. He does a lot of things. And also, like, I know this comparison will get people up in arms, and they'll say, Josh, what are you talking about? They didn't even make the playoffs. But look at Doncic and Kyrie Irving played together. They both played unbelievably well offensively. It wasn't the offense that didn't make them get in the playoffs. It was the fact that the rest of the roster made no sense at all and nobody can defend, right? That was not why that team didn't succeed. They both went out there with 30-plus usage. The offense worked pretty well. Both guys put up big numbers, and like, it works. Like, you can get these two. Like, LaMelo Ball doesn't have to. He's not going to play 48 minutes a night for a start. He doesn't have to have the ball in his hands for every single second of every single possession. That's also not the player LaMelo Ball is. He's not James Harden, who has the ball and dribble, pound, set up this. Like, the Ball brothers, Lonzo more than LaMelo, but they move it around. They get it going. They can orchestrate things in different situations. And Scoot also is not a black hole. Like, he can move, he can cut, he's strong, he's got the wingspan. I think there's defensive ability there. To me, there's just not even a question of who I would take. I've got more concerns on Brandon Miller than other people. But Scoot, I think we're trying to, it's not to sell the positive, it's more to dispel the negatives about him. What do you think about him defensively? Like, that wingspan is really big. Is that something that he uses to his advantage?
It's something that, his defense has taken strides in the right direction. I still think there's a couple levels he needs to unlock. Like, there's a desire for him to be an impactful point of attack defender. I think there's just some fundamentals that he's going to have to iron out when it comes to, surviving at the NBA level. I don't think he's ever going to play himself off the court when it comes to his defensive ability, but there's definitely some off-ball recognition. There's some fundamentals on the ball that I think he'll figure out and get ironed out. And especially with an NBA coach, they're going to hold him accountable, and he's from everything I've heard, just a relentless worker, has the right mentality. Everyone says he's mature beyond his years. And I think he's going to be one of those, first to show up at the gym, last to leave. And he wants to be great. And I think that's probably the area people will be concerned about, but it's not something I'm overly worried about, Scoot's such a bad defender, he can't be on the court. I think he's just going to have to maybe, take the pride to all of a sudden zone in on that and become a really impactful defensive asset.
I'm going to throw 3 names at you. It's probably a little bit cliched in terms of the type of player, but we have seen these 3 guys with either elite athleticism in terms of jumping ability, speed, driving, have significant success. In fact, one of these players was an All-NBA player this season. Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, De'Aaron Fox. All 3 of those guys struggled with their outside shooting at times in their career. They've had some moments of being average to above average, but as a general rule, they're below average 3-point shooters. But they're also above average athletes. Which one of those guys is more similar to what you think Scoot can project as?
I think it's funny that you bring that up because a lot of people always say like, oh, Russell Westbrook and Scoot Henderson. I'm like, I see Derrick Rose the most when I watch his game because it's just how quickly he can change gears laterally too. When it comes to when he wants to get somewhere, he's very smooth and then just has that tight window explosiveness to really get somewhere fast. And it's tough to deal with if you're defending him. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, he can hit on the afterburners in transition and finish above the rim with authority. So he's kind of just a headache machine for defensive guys. And also I think a lot of people wonder about the outside shot, but Scoot works to get to that mid-range. Like that's where the Westbrook comes in, and that's where the Derrick Rose comes in because he works to get to his spots. Like he understands using a pick and roll, being patient, letting the play develop, and then he picks people apart with that elbow jumper and really crafty, especially in the post too. He's just got a lot of tools. So I would say Derrick Rose probably is the most similar to Scoot Henderson.
Well, if he turns out like Derrick Rose, then obviously that's the sort of pick that you want outside of injuries at pick number 2. So look, he is, again, to me, very clearly at number 2. I don't debate that at all. And same with you. If it was Detroit there, I wouldn't have cared. Like, I'd take him and it's Jaden Ivey. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, you go to another team, you work together. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, that's the player. And that's when I'm analyzing things for fantasy, for dynasty fantasy. I want to look at a player and go, you're the guy that I'm set on. Like, you are set. Like, I look at Mark Williams in Charlotte, we go back to the Hornets, and I go, yeah, you're pretty good, but if someone better comes along, you're not doing anything. We're not doing this because Mark Williams is here. But to me, it's Scoot. Like, Scoot comes in and then everything else sort of fits around, and then we work out the other stuff later on, that level of prospect. And that's why I'm really clearly having him there at number 2. So I'm excited to see what he brings. I'm excited to see if the Hornets, what decision they make. And then if he falls to 3, what do the Blazers do? That's the other interesting thing. It's like I heard this weeks ago that if they didn't get pick 1, they're trading their pick. And it could end up being an unbelievable talent level player of Scoot falling to 3, which could net them something really interesting in a trade. So who knows how...